Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Radha Madhava Vrindavinari Madhava Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajaka Acharya Ashtota Dasata Sri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajaka Acharya Ashtota Dasata Sri Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Nama Acharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Gaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakti Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakun Radha Kun Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Navadip Maipur Dham Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Tulasi Devi Ki Jai Yamuna Mai Ki Jai Ganga Mai Ki Jai Samaveta Bhakti Vrinda Ki Jai Srila Prabhupada's Transcendental Book Distribution Ki Jai Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai All glories to the Assembled Devotees Hare Krishna All glories to the Assembled Devotees Hare Krishna All glories to the Assembled Devotees Hare Krishna All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga All glories to Srila Prabhupada Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vikasa Swami Namane Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 10, Text 33. Etat Bhagavata Rupam Stulam Te Vyahritam Maya Mahi Adibihi Cha Avaranaihi Ashtabihi Bahihi Avritam Etad Bhagavato Rupam Etad Bhagavato Rupam Stulam Te Vyahritam Maya Stulam Te Vyahritam Maya Mahyadi Bishchavanair Mahyadi Bishchavanair Mahyadi Bishchavanair Ashtabhir Bahir Avritam Ashtabhir Bahir Avritam Etad Bhagavato Rupam Stulang Te Vyahritam Maya Mahyadi Bishchavanair Ashtabhir Bahir Avritam Etad Bhagavato Rupam Stulam Te Vyahritam Maya Mahyadi Bishchavanair Ashtabhir Bahir Avritam Etad Bhagavato Rupam Stulam Te Vyahritam Maya Mahyadi Bishchavanair Ashtabhir Bahir Avritam. Please repeat. Etad Bhagavato Rupam Stulam Te Vyahritam Maya Mahyadi Bishchavanair Ashtabhir Bahir Avritam.
Etad Bhagavato Rupam
Etad Bhagavato Rupam
Stulam Te Vyahritam Maya Mahyadi Bhishtavarane Ashtabhir Bahiravritam Etad Bhagavato Rupam स्थूलं ते व्याहृतं मया
एतद् भगवतो रूपम्
एतद्भगवतो रूपं
स्थूलं ते व्याहृतं मया
स्थूलं ते व्याहृतं मया मह्यादिभिश्चावरणैः
अष्टभिर्बहिरावृतम्
अष्टभिर्बहिरावृतम् एतद्भगवतो रूपं स्थूलं ते व्याहृतं मया मह्यादिभिश्चावरणैः अष्टभिर्बहिरावृतम्
Mataris? Etad Bhagavato Rupam
स्थूलं ते व्याहृतं मया मह्यादिभिश्चावरणैः अष्टभिर्बहिरावृतम्
Etat, all these, Bhagavataha, of the personality of Godhead. Rupam, form. Stulam, gross. Te, unto you. Vyahritam, explained. Maya, by me. Mahi, the planets. Adibihi, and so on. Cha, unlimitedly. Avaranaihi, by coverings. Ashtabihi, by 8. Bahihi, external. Avritam, covered. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Thus by all this, the external feature of the personality of Godhead is covered by gross forms such as those of planets, which were explained to you by me. Purport. As explained in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, text 4, the separated material energy of the personality of Godhead is covered by 8 kinds of material coverings: earth, water, fire, air, sky, mind, intelligence, and false ego. All these are emanations from the personality of Godhead as His external energy. These coverings are just like the covering of clouds for the sun. The cloud is a creation of the sun, yet it actually covers the eyes so that one cannot see the sun. The sun cannot be covered by the clouds. The cloud can at utmost extend a few hundreds of miles in the sky, but the sun is far greater than millions of miles, so a 100-mile covering is not competent to cover millions of miles. Therefore, one of the various energies of the Supreme Personality of Godhead cannot, of course, cover the Lord. But these coverings are created by Him to cover the eyes of the conditioned souls who want to lord it over the material nature. Actually, the conditioned souls are covered by the illusory creative cloud of matter, and the Lord reserves the right of not being exposed to their eyes. Because they have no eyes of transcendental vision, and because they cannot see the personality of Godhead, they therefore deny the existence of the Lord and the transcendental form of the Lord. The covering of the gigantic material feature is accepted by such men with a poor fund of knowledge, and how this is so is explained in the following verse. Om Jnana Timirantasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Mano Pishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutaf Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavans Cha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raganatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shiva Shakan Vitam Cha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshri Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vanchakalpaturubhyascha Kripasindubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivikasa Swaminiti Namane Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Deshatarne Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Vagisha Yasya Varane Lakshmi Yasya Chavaksasi Yasya Ste Hriday Samvit Tam Nisimham Mahamaje Yasya Devi Parabhaktir Yata Tevi Tatagaro Tasya Te Katitayarata Prakashante Mahatmanaha Etad Bhagavato Rupam Stulam Te Vyahritam Maya Mahyadibish Chavaraner Ashtabir Bahir Avritam. Thus, by all this, the external feature of the personality of Godhead is covered by gross forms such as those of planets, which were explained to you by me. So we've been going through all of these different senses and all these things and how this is all created, how is it produced, and so this is kind of wrapping up that section, it seems. And this is just generally talking about this external energy, these gross forms and subtle forms of material energy that are covering the living entities, and how that's working. And of course, the purport here is citing this Bhumir Apo Nalo Vayu, this verse in the 7th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita that's explaining the same thing, that there's these 8 material elements. So it's from gross to subtle, it's earth, water, fire, air, ether. These are the gross elements. And then on the subtle elements, so there's mind, intelligence, and false ego. And it's explained in much more detail elsewhere in the Bhagavatam, but the basic idea is that there are coverings within this material world and this the Mahatattva that are made of these different elements, and ultimately each layer, as you get more subtle, is 10 times larger. So, the earth layer, and then 10 times larger than that is water, and so on and so forth, all the way to false ego, which is inconceivably big. So we're, you could say, trapped in this material existence in a way. We have all of these coverings that are covering us, and it's compared in this purport here. Prabhupada compares it to a cloud that's covering the sun. So it's been cloudy for a few days now, and you can go outside and you don't have any knowledge of the sun. If you've never seen the sun, you don't know what the sun is. You would not be able to understand that it's a globe, and it's a circle, and it's what's providing this light in the sky. Although it will be light outside during the daytime and dark at night, you wouldn't be able to discern clearly what the source is and have any real knowledge of it without just mentally speculating about what it is. So similarly, the living entity is covered by this cloud of nescience of all of these 8 elements that are keeping them entangled in this material world. And you might wonder why we are always covering this, why the Bhagavatam is always talking about these different things, talking about the creation of the material universe and these different elements. And it's not talking about only, the spiritual world, or only, the pastimes of the Lord and such. But this is very important to understand, as Matya mentioned last night, this verse, Ishopanishad 11, you can pull that up. This is, I read the Ishopanishad when I first came, but I don't remember this one specifically, so it was good to revisit this. Vidyam cha vidyam cha yas, tadvido bhayam saha, avidyaya mrityum tirtva, vidyaya mritam ashnute. Only one who can learn the process of nescience and that of transcendental knowledge side by side can transcend the influence of repeated birth and death and enjoy the full blessings of immortality. So, the understanding here is that we have to, and again, this is why the Bhagavatam is speaking of this, we have to understand both of these things side by side. Understand our position in the material world and the inner workings of the material world, the way that it has been designed to keep us entangled in Maya, and also understand the spiritual, and that there is a existence that is full of eternality, full of knowledge and full of bliss that we can attain to. But we must understand and get free of this material world in that process as well. So we can't just jump straight, as it's spoken of so many times in the Bhagavatam. You can't jump straight to the 10th canto and just try to relish the pastimes, the most esoteric or intimate pastimes of Krishna, without understanding all of these things first. First canto of Bhagavatam is titled Creation, and then this creation process is described also here in the second canto, pretty thoroughly, and then also the third canto describes it as well with Kapiladev, right? He's speaking to Devahuti, and he's explaining these things as well, this Sankhya philosophy. So it's covered over and over and over again. And it might seem like, why do they keep talking about this over and over again in the Bhagavatam? But, as we just saw from this verse in the Isha Upanishad, it's important to understand these things. It's important to understand how this material world works, how we've gotten into this position, how we can get out, and the different traps that Maya is presenting to us that will keep us entangled. And this purport, this verse in particular, is just more proof, or more just, you could say proof of the fact that the Bhagavatam and Krishna consciousness, this movement, is not just some cheating religion. It's not some completely faith-based religion like everything that's out there nowadays, pretty much. I found this quote from Prabhupada, that Prabhupada said that Krishna consciousness is a scientific, cultural, and philosophical presentation for the re-spiritualization of the entire world. So it's scientific, cultural, and philosophical. Again, it's not just believe this or you go to hell, believe that this person is God, Jesus is God, or whatever, this is the only way. And, that's what Christians say, that no one comes to the Father except through me, exactly. So we're not like that. We're not dogmatic in that way. We are very logical, scientific, and we approach things in a way that explains everything. It answers all the questions. So we can understand all of these different elements and how they work. And by being able to understand this, again, this is how we come into proper knowledge, and we're able to actually transcend it. Whereas, this cheating religions, they simply twist things generally they actually twist it for their own sense gratification. I also was hearing that it's now commonly accepted, at least in like academic circles and universities and such, that Christianity, Jesus' original teachings, he was saying, be vegetarian, and he also was preaching about reincarnation. He was affirming that reincarnation is real. And then, the Bible has been edited and whatever by various leaders throughout history since then. And nowadays people follow based on whatever suits their own sense gratification. They eat meat and they believe that this life is all in all, so you should just enjoy life, that God created this world for our enjoyment. And ultimately, you simply believe in Jesus and you go to heaven. If you don't, you go to hell. So these are very nonsensical, non-scientific approaches to religion. And it's, again, Prabhupada coined this term, cheating religions. But ultimately, the point that's being made is that we can't actually know God through this opinion-based and unscientific, simply just faith-based approach. We can't know God by saying, well, I was born in America and my parents are Christians, so therefore I'm Christian. We have to approach it, again, from this scientific basis, this philosophical basis that Prabhupada is presenting. And the Bhagavatam and the Bhagavad Gita does this perfectly. Because the thing is, this is as is being explained here, we are covered by these different material elements. We're covered by the influence of the false ego, the mind, and the intelligence. They're dragging us here and there against our best interest. And because we identify ultimately as this body and as this mind, we think that we are these things, and we think that what the mind wants is what we want. We think that what the false ego wants is what we want. But we're not even in the proper knowledge that these things aren't who we are. These are simply material coverings that they're subtle, and they're covering us and our true nature, and they're preventing us from reestablishing our true relationship with Krishna, with the Lord, and understanding that we are, again, this Satchit Ananda, this we're eternal, we're blissful, and we're full of knowledge. This at the very beginning of the Bhagavatam class every day, the speaker says, Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana. So I was born in the darkest of ignorance. Everybody in this material world, unless they are someone like Prabhupada who directly came down from the spiritual world to preach and to share this message. We are covered by ignorance since birth, since the time of birth, and since time immemorial. Even we've been in this material world since time immemorial, and we've been in this darkness of ignorance for so long. Ajnana, jnana is knowledge, and ajnana is ignorance. So we've been in this for so long, and again, we're covered by these 8 material elements, and these things are so much more powerful than us. Actually, Maya is so much more powerful than the individual living entity. And her influence is so strong, she can pull us out of Krishna consciousness at any moment and has so many tricks to do so. So ultimately it comes down to the mercy of the Lord, the mercy of the devotees, and this aspect of surrendering and following in the line of disciplic succession, following strictly. And by doing this, we receive the mercy to overcome this influence of Maya, and Krishna comes and pulls us out of this. But obviously this, just imagining how big these layers are that I mentioned before of the material coverings, we can never by our own endeavor hope to get out of it. There's just no way, They said that even if you had a spaceship that traveled at the speed of the mind, you could never even approach the toenails of the Lord, even after billions and billions of years. He's so far away from us, the spiritual world is so far away from where we are right now. But only through this descending process can we hope to reach there. There's this analogy I also heard that if you want to go climb Mount Everest, you can either go get your backpack and go set up at base camp or whatever and get all your gear and start climbing up, with your 2 feet. Or the much easier method would be for a helicopter to come grab you and take you to the top. The helicopter descends from above and picks you up and takes you. Or you can by your own endeavor go up. So this is the process of bhakti yoga, is taking the helicopter, and this process of jnana yoga and ashtanga yoga, all these other processes for self-realization that, as we've spoken of so many times, they're not practical in this day and age. This is the process of walking up with your 2 feet up Mount Everest. So it just makes much more sense to obviously surrender to the Lord, and the result is so much better as well. This impersonal realization only leads to merging into the impersonal Brahmajyoti, this covering, this effulgence emanating from the body of Krishna. And this is a temporary state where you ultimately have to come back to the material world and continue to play out all your desires, because you haven't cultivated spiritual desires. You've only gotten rid of, or seemingly gotten rid of, material desires, at least for some time. And so, this system of material coverings, again, all of this is, again, very scientific and very intelligently designed. You can really understand by reading the Bhagavatam and by meditating upon this that these, this system of keeping us entangled in this material world and covering us with these different elements is very much intelligently designed to keep us under this illusion that we're able to enjoy in this material world. As Prabhupada is saying, this is compared to a cloud that's covering the sun. So ultimately the sun can't be covered by a cloud because its influence spreads so much further than the tiny cloud does. But for the living entity that's underneath the cloud, they are unaware that there's any other reality other than that cloud. They don't know that behind the cloud is the sun that's providing the light. So similarly, Krishna has designed this so perfectly well that we're not able to see him directly in this material world because we've come to this world because we don't want to see him. We want to have this illusion of lording it over material nature. But if we were able to directly perceive Krishna and see him, this illusion would be instantly shattered, and we would see that we're not actually this enjoyer, we're not the supreme. And so this facility to play out this desire would be ruined, and the entire, half of the purpose of the material creation would be lost, you could say. Of course, the other half is that ultimately this world has been designed, as was stated yesterday, this world has been designed to be perfectly imperfect and to indicate to us, that actually there's much more that there is something else out there that will lead us to, again, this Satchidananda, this eternal bliss and happiness, and to make us hanker for that, make us wonder what that is, make us search for it. Ultimately, bring us to the lotus feet of Krishna, the lotus feet of the spiritual master, and then through him we go to Krishna. So this is perfectly imperfect. Every endeavor that we make in the material world is ultimately met with frustration and disappointment. Even if it's just at the time of death, even if you have a perfectly arranged material life, you have very good karma to make a bunch of money, have a beautiful family, and all these such things. At the time of death, it's all taken away from you anyway. So what was the point of it all? But this world is so intelligently designed in that way, and you can see it in so many other things too. That Krishna has designed everything so well. The human body is an amazing thing, and the eyeball has I don't know how it works, but a scientist could never re-engineer the eyeball to make something as precise and as complicated as it did. It flips over the image inside or everything is actually being seen upside down, and then the brain flips it in some way, and it's reflecting off of these lenses. I don't know exactly how it works, but in biology class in high school, you learned about that kind of stuff, and it's really mind-blowing when you actually think about it. All the different systems that are going on within the human body, just alone. And so everything within this world is actually designed in that way. You look at a flower; it's very beautifully designed, and from a seed sprouts this beautiful flowers, and the trees, and every plant that comes from a seed. It's so amazing. You have a little tiny seed, and then all of a sudden you have this giant tree that's sprouting fruits, and the fruits have more seeds in them, and it's self-replicating. Again, scientists could never create something so fantastic. So everything in this world is designed in such a intelligent way, as you can see, and yet the scientists and the atheistic people still deny the existence of God. They think that all of this was just created by chance, and they think it's ultimately just meant to be enjoyed by us. We have this consciousness has come about from dead matter, and a certain arrangement of chemicals has led to the evolution of the human, and now we have this consciousness that's come about. But one thing I was learning about recently is that there's this thing called the hard problem of consciousness. I don't know if I've discussed this before in class, but scientists are pretty stumped right now because they're trying to figure out, and I never thought of it this way, but they're trying to figure out why there even is consciousness at all, actually. If there was no consciousness and the human body could just go on eating, sleeping, mating, defending without that, why is there a need for consciousness at all? So they're stumped to even figure that out. They can't figure it out. So philosophers are coming up with all these different ideas, but ultimately they're completely clueless. But it's because they are completely in this material conception. They think that what is being discussed here, these 8 material elements, they think that this is all in all. They don't understand that this is simply this small external energy of the Lord, and it's just like this covering cloud. So it's, in that way, you could say that this material energy is working perfectly well for them, because it's keeping them covered and helping them believe, again, that they are the enjoyers, they are supreme, and that they can ultimately understand everything through their own tiny endeavors with their minds. But ultimately it comes down to the fact that we're simply these tiny living beings with this very polluted intelligence. We don't have perfect knowledge, and this, again, the Om Jnana Timirandasi, we're born in ignorance. We don't know anything, and then we come into this world and we get this conception that we are this body, we're a boy or we're a girl, and we're American, this and that. Our parents are, from here, and they do this for work, and we're middle class, or we're poor, or we're rich, whatever. We have this polluted intelligence that's completely filled with all kinds of lusty desires, anger, greed, and we simply can't attain to this highest knowledge with all of those things in mind. So we must approach the proper source. We must approach the source which is unpolluted with these material qualities. And we can do that through approaching, again, the lotus feet of the spiritual master and to approaching the Shastra. There's also this verse that I've been learning recently that I really like is Indriyani manaf prana atma dharma dutir matihi hrishrish tejas smriti satyam yasya na shanti janmana. You can pull this up. I think it's 7, 8, 11. This is in Prahlad Maharaj's prayers, I believe. 11. Yeah. Wait, go back. Let me see. Maybe it's not that. What is it? Oh, 7, 10, 8. Sorry. I was way off. Yeah, so this Indriyani Manaf Prana. So Indriyani, the senses. Manaf is the mind. Prana is the life. Atma is the body. Dharma is like religion. Dritir is patience, I believe. Yeah. Matihi, intelligence. Hrish, tejas, so opulence, shyness, strength. Smritis, remembrance or memory. Satyam is truthfulness. All of these things, it said, are destroyed by this lust from the beginning of one's birth. Because of lusty desires from the very beginning of one's birth. All of these, the functions of one's senses, mind, life, body, religion, patience, intelligence, shyness, opulence, strength, memory, and truthfulness, they're all vanquished. So all of these good qualities, the functions of the mind and the intelligence that are able to, again, these are the tools that we need to use to ultimately inquire and learn that the intelligent decision is to submit to the proper authority and to realize our predicament in this material world. All of these things, the functions of all these senses, patience, again, patience is a very important aspect of devotional service, as explained by Rupa Goswami. Strength not just of the body. I was thinking when I read this that it's also strength of the mind, strength of the heart. We speak about that one reason for downfall or for not following so strictly in Krishna consciousness is weakness of heart. So the opposite, strength of heart, would be very favorable to devotional service. Memory is, of course, very important. We have like some devotees here that have really good memories, and my memory is really terrible. Like I just ruined my brain my whole life, so I'm not able to remember so many verses, and when I listen to a class, I don't remember so much of it. But I'm working on that, hoping that gets better. But having a very good memory is extremely favorable in devotional service because you can remember verses, you can remember what the spiritual master has said, and you can reflect on that and meditate on that, and that gives you a lot of strength in your devotional service. But all of these functions, they're ruined, as being explained in this verse, because of lusty desires from the very beginning of one's birth. So again, as we're speaking about the scientists and the mundaners and the people that are following these cheating religions, they're completely controlled by this lust. And so therefore all of these things, their intelligence, their mind, their patience, their memory, all of these things are destroyed. And so they're not able to actually attain to the highest thing in life, and they're not able to approach God in any proper way. So they have all of these ideas and opinions, and you'll meet people on the street when you're shipping books, and they'll say, "Well, that's your opinion." We'll preach to them a little bit and tell them something about from the Bhagavad Gita or whatever, and they'll kind of walk away thinking, "Well, that's their opinion, and my opinion is whatever." The life comes from matter, or that Jesus is God and you have to surrender to Him, and you'll guaranteed go to heaven. So they have their opinions, and they think that we have our opinions. And the general idea nowadays is that everybody has their opinions. You can be whatever you want to be. You can be attracted to whatever you want to be attracted to. You can engage in whatever activity you want, as long as the general idea is that as long as it doesn't hurt anyone else. You can do whatever you want, no matter how just degraded it is, or how despicable other people might see it to be. As long as it's not hurting someone else, it's okay to do it. So everybody's engaged in this way. And so when we come in and say, actually, no, what you're doing is very wrong, very sinful, you need to listen to what we're saying. What we're saying is right. we're seen as fanaticals or fanatics, and we're seen as imposing, and we're seen as, very conservative, I guess you could say, and just very backwards, very outdated, is what people might perceive us as. But it's very simple, we're acting, and we're trying to act, at least, for the benefit of not only ourselves but for others as well. And we're wanting to give people proper knowledge and help them understand their precarious position that they're in life, that we have this rare human form of life. This knowledge is available. We're in this amazing time where Lord Chaitanya's mercy is flowing, and we can simply chant the holy names and engage in this simple process of devotional service associated with devotees and have a really good time. And through that, we can all rise in consciousness and get rid of these lusty desires that have been bothering us, have been with us since time immemorial, and have kept us bound in this material world, have dragged us here and there from body to body against our will. And we can find true happiness, true lasting peace in not being controlled by these desires and following these principles. And people still, generally, 99% of people don't want to hear it. They don't want anything to do with such a thing, even though, again, it's for their best benefit. But it's compared to this patient with jaundice, that they taste everything sweet as very bitter, but you simply force them to taste the sugar, even though it's very bitter. And over time, this jaundice is cured, and the taste goes back to normal, being sweet. So I was listening to a lecture by my Guru Maharaj about Lord Chaitanya the other day on Gaur Purnima, and talking about Lord Chaitanya's forceful mercy, that, they would go out and just everybody would get the holy name, no matter who it was. Just give it out as a blanket thing. Just everybody gets it equally. Non-devotee or devotee, there's no discrimination between who is who. Everyone should get the mercy. And this is what we're aiming to engage in here at Krishna Life, that we want to go and give everyone the Bhagavatam, give everyone Prabhupada's books, no matter who they are. Mahotsa Prabhu says that if they walk, then he'll give them books or something. If they're over 18 and they walk, or I guess if they don't have to walk, they can be in a wheelchair too. But anybody, and if they're breathing, I think he says, and they're over 18, he'll give them books. It doesn't matter. No discrimination. We might go on books and see someone and think, this is like a 60-year-old white man with a gray hair, and like he's wearing like a Trump shirt or something, or a Trump hat. Like, you might instantly think, okay, like, no, this guy's not going to take books. He's a Christian. I can tell. Like, I don't want to approach him. But, our mood should be that everyone should be approached, and we should try to give everyone books. You can be surprised. I mean, it's happened so many times to me, at least, that I talked to someone even though I thought there's no way this person's taking books, and then they ended up taking books, and maybe they even got more books than I thought. They gave a nice donation. Some people gave hundreds and things like that. So you'll be surprised, and it's simply a matter of faith and not what you say, it's what you pray. And the person that you are meeting will see your sincerity. They'll see your faith in these books, and that you're being truthful, that you really want them to have this because you know the benefit it's given to you, and you want others to experience it as well. This is going off a little bit of topic, but this what's her name? What Mataji was saying yesterday, Kamalini Mataji, about how she's been able to distribute books her whole life. That was really kind of like hit me really nicely. Just what she was saying, that she's just so grateful to Prabhupada that he took this endeavor to write all these amazing books, and she feels indebted to him to continue on and spread them to as many people as possible. And then she also mentioned that when she's on books, she's speaking to someone, and it's completely on the spiritual platform. It's not on the material platform of I'm this body and you're this body. It's soul to soul, she said, that they're connecting in that way. And that she feels, a lot of times she said, she feels closer to these people, these strangers that she meets and gives books, than she feels to anyone else, even to her own family. So this is a very amazing process, that we can give this indiscriminately to as many people as possible, and just every single person should take books. And of course we go on the street and we chant and we do Harinam, and so many people, like to cover their ears like this. But I think it was Prabhupada that said, like, right, that we already got you, like, basically, like, it's like people can do that, but the holy name's already in their head, so they're just keeping it in their head by doing that. So it's like we already got you, and so we try to give it to as many people as possible in that way. And some people like it, some people don't. Some people dance with us, some people run away. But the fact is, they're all hearing this holy name, and they're all being purified by hearing this. So it's really an amazing thing that we're able to engage in this process. And yeah, so ultimately this idea of the mundaners, they have no ideas, they have no eyes of transcendental vision, and because they cannot see the personality of Godhead, they therefore deny the existence of the Lord. And then this just reminded me of this verse in the Brahma Samhita. You can pull this up, 538. It's talking about this salve of love of God that's smeared on the eyes. Put it here. Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena Santa Sadaiva Hridayeshu Vilokayanti Yam Shama Sundaram Achintya Guna Sarupam Govindamari Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who is Shamasundar, Krishna himself, with inconceivable, innumerable attributes, whom the pure devotees see in their heart of hearts with the eye of devotion, tinged with the salve of love. So, this is saying very clearly here that although these materialists, the atheists and the scientists and all such people, they have no eyes of transcendental vision. And because they cannot see the personality of God, they therefore deny the existence of the Lord and the transcendental form of the Lord. But it's saying clearly here that the pure devotee is seeing the Lord within his heart, because their eyes are in their heart of hearts with the eye of devotion, tinged with the salve of love. So this salve of love, we have to cultivate this. We have to acquire this by any means. Beg, borrow, or steal. We have to attain this in this life. This is the only worthwhile thing getting in this world. It's the only worthwhile thing endeavoring for in this human form of life. And it's a very unique opportunity that we're presented with, that we should remind ourselves every day. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur preached this verse every day, this Labdhava Sudurlabham verse that I always mention, that it's pinned up on Mahotsa Prabhu's closet. And I try to reflect on that every day and just remember, don't take it for granted that you're in this situation practicing devotional service. Try to cultivate humility, try to cultivate a learning attitude, a servant attitude, and just follow in the footsteps of what the acharyas are saying, and everything is guaranteed for us. We see this, we can directly perceive the Lord within our heart of hearts if we just get this eye of devotion tinged with the salve of love. And we see, again, we're just following in the footsteps. So many devotees have done this, and we're very fortunate to be in this position, and we should endeavor wholeheartedly with patience and enthusiasm and perseverance to reach this goal, because it's the only thing worth endeavoring for in this life. So I'm supposed to end at 8:30, so I'll end now. I don't know if I can take questions, but maybe just like one or two questions real quick if there's anything.
Thank you for the class, Prabhu. You were saying just a lot about the scientists and how the matter is all in all for them. And I think it's really nice how Guru Maharaj is very serious about establishing like a reincarnation as a fact, and he's always talking about the lectures how there's so much overwhelming evidence, of how reincarnation being a fact, like so much anecdotal evidence, so much in general. But he was saying, like, I was listening to one lecture, playing the Brihat Mridanga and Varnashram Dharma, something like that, from Jagannath Puri. He was saying, like, even though like a scientist may be like faced with complete overwhelming evidence spirit, something spiritual or something, above matter. There's still like a material rationalization, like this is like antimatter. This is like it's like a material rationalization, or they may even say something like it's mass hallucination. That so many people believe in such a thing. So it just seems like I don't know. I guess it's Maya, but also like their consciousness, it seems to be so low that even if they come to grasp that there's something out of their reach, they somehow rationalize it like on the material level. So
because like all science is based on completely material. Like they don't have any scope for anything outside of material existence, because they can't. It's something they can't measure. So like science is based on measuring something, and you can't measure anything spiritual because it's like you can't perceive it with your gross senses. Yeah. So they're just using their imperfect senses to try to like come to a conclusion when it doesn't make any sense. Like, and they have, again, it's like very dogmatic too. If you really get down to it, it's like it's the same as like the cheating religions that just say you have to believe in this way. Like so many times in history, like they had like this new like whatever like discovery in science, right? And then like the person that discovered it is like what's it called, ostracized from the community and like rejected, and then like it's only way after their death that like they realized what they were saying was actually true.
yeah.
So it's like, yeah, it's a very dogmatic thing actually. It's like you have to believe like the system is this way and just like believe it this way, or you can't go outside too much of what they already believe.
Yeah, Gumaraj was saying like at least for like the West and like America, there's a lot of hope actually, because so many people believe in reincarnation, and he was just saying like if you can, you can tell someone that they're that the person overseeing this material world has 4 heads, and there are demigods flying around, and people believe it. I mean, we talk to so many people on books about like crazy things, and they just like completely accept it, Yeah. So, he was also saying that there's like a generation of people who just don't believe in miracles, don't believe in like anything out of the ordinary. But he was just saying that generation of people is actually like going away, like, and people believe in that stuff now.
Yeah.
So that's really nice.
Prabhupada's books.
Yeah.
That's good. Anything else? Okay, Mataji's? Yeah.
Just thinking on the topic of scientists, or those who feel like they need to measure in order to believe in such things like spirituality. I guess what's the remedy for that? To help people who have that conception to be able to come to the platform of Krishna consciousness.
Yeah, I mean, I think Prabhupada's books do a pretty good job of like approaching things scientifically. I mean, there's that book, Science of Self-Realization, is a good one. It's all very logical actually. And again, it's like I was explaining in the beginning, it's like the stark contrast between Krishna consciousness and like other Krishna consciousness isn't just a religion or anything, but like these mundane religions, these cheating religions that I was mentioning. Prabhupada said this, that Krishna consciousness is a scientific, cultural, and philosophical presentation for the re-spiritualization of the entire world. So if someone is just open-minded, simply open-minded, and understands logic and, like scientific process, and reads Prabhupada's books with this open mind and inquires from devotees about any questions they have, they can pretty easily come to the correct understanding. I was mentioning this idea of the hard problem of consciousness that scientists are trying to figure out. I feel like that could be a good preaching tool for someone that's more intellectual in that way. We met this one college student that he's very intelligent, and he's like researching all these different things, and he was very atheistic, and then he discovered this hard problem of consciousness, and he realized, okay, well, material science can't explain consciousness actually, so what can explain it? And then he found Krishna consciousness through that, and he saw, okay, this makes way more sense. This is saying that, the symptom of the soul is that it's it's conscious, and when it's present in the body, then the body has consciousness, and then when it leaves, the body is like dead matter. So it's very scientific, and there's so much in Prabhupada's books. I mean, the Bhagavatam, there's such a large text, and they can read through that and get all their questions answered in that way. Yeah. Okay. Anything else? All right. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Bunch of